Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Facebook. Good afternoon, IG. How are you guys doing out there today? Hello, hello, hello. All right. I'm going to wait a minute here to get some people on. You guys come on in so I can get you guys some valid information. Valid information for you guys today. Okay, so come on in. Good afternoon. All right. So hi, Miss Carla. Thanks for tuning in. All right, you guys. Raquel, thank you for coming in. I'm going to get some people up in here today. Got some great information for you. Great information. So you guys hit like and share this video so that all your friends and everybody else can use this information. They can get an opportunity to get some of this great information that they're going to need for their business, individual, corporation, nonprofit, whatever it is that you got going on. This is going to be very helpful for you. All right. So hi, Malcolm. Okay. So hi, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, IG. How you guys doing out there? This is Elaine Proby. Greetings to you. Hey, thank you. This is Elaine Proby here from CEO of PROBY'S Tax and Accounting here in Los Angeles, guys. I've been operating a financial and tax business here in Los Angeles for over 35 years, and we have been on Crenshaw Boulevard for 25. A lot of people know the business from Crenshaw. Hi, Inez. Hello, Lee Smith. So, okay, today we're back with questions and answers, and I wanted to make sure that I have the series that I'm calling it How to Stay in Business, right? How to Stay in Business. And in order to stay in business, there are, of course, all these things that you need to make sure that you're doing for your business, with your business, so you can stay in business. And so I wanted to share this information with you guys and make sure that it's very helpful. Of course, everybody can use it, whether the business is an individual business at home or whether you're in a certain location with your business, you can use the same information, okay? And as your business grow, of course, you'll be able to use the same information. So today in the series of how to stay in business, I wanted to touch on licensing, business compliance. Of course, to stay in business, you got to be in compliance. You got to have various licenses. We want to talk about that, talk about what those things are and, what you need to do to get those and implications if you don't, right? There's certain implications, very expensive ones if you don't do that. So I wanted to point those out as well, and then, end in a note, which is more important to all of this, and that is tax compliance. So we can cover some of that. It's going to be fairly brief, giving you information and further explanation, whatever you guys can, of course, feel free to call the office. We're PROBY'S Tax and Accounting here in Los Angeles, and our phone number here is 323-290-9034. I'm Elaine Proby, CEO of PROBY'S Tax and Accounting. Hey, Inez. All right, guys, so let's get started. This is a question and answer Q&A, so if you guys have questions regarding any compliance issues, make sure that you put them on the screen, put them at the bottom. I'm going to attempt to make sure that I can cover them all today. And if not, I'll go back on the live and answer those questions. And furthermore, if you need more than that, of course, you can set up a meeting with our office. Okay? So I'm going to attempt to. So make sure you get your questions on the screen today. All right? Okay, so I'm going to start off today with let's say with a small business, right? Small business. Most people start a small business and they are operating from home, right? And so what happens is the small business, home operation, a lot of times we're doing those and we're not, thinking of, oh, okay, well, this is a small business. I'm just making some money on the side, doing my cooking, sewing, or whatever else I'm doing at home. So I don't necessarily need to get a license, right? So a lot of times our small business, we don't think that there's a license involved. So we just do it from home and that's it. However, there is, implications. There's implications if you get caught operating your small business from home and you don't have a license. So what I want you guys to do is, even if you're not intended for this business to be huge or taking it to the streets, if you're not intending to do that, still get a license. If you're here in Los Angeles, you can get a City of LA business license, and if you don't make over $100,000 is free. So it doesn't, in some cities, it doesn't even cost you that much to get a city license. So let's start with our small business or home-based business. Make sure that we go on, get our licensing, and that is the first step of making sure that we're operating a valid business. We're operating a business that is in compliance. You know, let's start getting compliant by getting the necessary business license. All right, so now don't forget, you guys, this is a question and answer show today. So if you guys have questions regarding this, make sure that you put your questions at the bottom, right? So anyway, let's start off. Again, I said let's get our business licenses. That's the first thing. And then with the business license, guys, there are zoning issues that you may encounter. So I want you guys to think on this. You may want to start a business, but based on what it is, you may not even be in the right area for that business, right? Certain places you can't operate certain business. So in some cases, before you get started, you need to make sure that you're not only in the right location, but that it's zoned. You could be in a commercial area, but maybe it's not zoned for what it is that you want to operate. So you have to make sure that zoning, you check out into the city planning commission and make sure you're in the right area for zoning. Now, I've got a lot of clients who in the past have spent money, lots of money, opening up a location in an area that was not zoned for what it is that they're trying to operate. And these guys have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars after they get a building, they remodel the whole building, they get everything in it, and the zoning wasn't right for what it is that they're operating. So get your business license. Make sure you're in the right zone for what it is that you're operating. And those are the two key things essentially for when you first get started in your business. And again, like I said, in some cities, it doesn't cost anything to get your business license, okay? So, hey Taj, hi, thanks for jumping in. Good afternoon. How are you doing? All right, so, okay guys, so that's it on the personal business side of things, okay? So, if you are, again, depending on what type of business you're operating, there are other licenses that you may need to get, right? There's other licenses you may need to get. If you're doing, let's say, hair, you may need to go get a cosmetology license. If you're into real estate, you may need to get that license. So find out what type of license you need to operate the type of business you're operating, because the key thing here is if you're not in compliance, your business is subject to being closed down by authorities. Whatever monies you invested, you will wind up losing. You could be cited, so you may have to even go to court, and you may have to pay fees. You may have to pay attorney's fees. You may have to pay court fees, you know, so it can get very, very, very costly. So this small business that you think you're operating and it's just going to be something that I'm doing to make a few dollars can cost you a lot more money before you even get going on it, right? Hi, Miss Lorna. Thanks for watching. All right, so don't forget, okay? Write down your business idea. Write down what it is that you want to do. Make sure you're in the right location. Get your business license and make sure you're in the right zone. So, hi, any questions on that note? Any questions? Hi, Carla. All right, so any questions on the zoning? Any questions on the business license? For now, I wanted to start off with that. And those are for the people who are operating, let's say, even home-based business, right? Now, there are some folks who turn their home-based business and they expand their location. So maybe, let's say it's at your house, you know, some people will wind up expanding their backyard or expanding their garage or expanding a room or something else, maybe with external entrance. If you're doing any of this to operate a business, you really, really want to make sure that you're able to do that stuff if you're in a residential area based on what kind of business you're operating. You know, some business may not be suitable for a residential area, right? So if you are, let's say you were operating some type of business that a lot of people will come there, a lot of people will congregate, you know, depending on what that business is. Maybe you're doing a workout program, and you might wind up with 10, 20, 30, 40 people. People might be on the streets parking. You might not be able to run that kind of business in that residential location. Once again, check on your city, check your location, make sure your licenses, make sure your zoning and all that stuff works for what it is that you trying to operate, okay? All right, so if you guys, we have hi Maria. If you have any questions on staying in compliance, make sure that you guys put your questions on the screen. I'm going to attempt to answer all of them today. This is Elaine Proby, CEO, PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, and we're trying to make, oh, there we go. How about online business? Do you need a business license for an online business? Now, when you start your business, of course, of course you create a business name and you do all that stuff, fictitious business name, and you want to, you want to get everything registered to make sure that you are operating this business. Now, you might be doing it online. However, when it's time to file your taxes, you're going to have to be reporting that information. In some cases, there might be some sales taxes involved, guys. So you may have to look and make sure that when you're doing sales online, if that's what it is, you may have to check and make sure that there is not sales tax implication that's involved with, say, reselling, buying and reselling stuff online. So even if you're operating online, there are compliance issues that you have to make sure that you're operating under. Good question, Carla. All right. So, yeah, online business. Okay. So, all right. So what else we got here? In compliance, different from for an LLC. Is compliance different for an LLC? Be different depending on what business you're in. It's going to be different depending on your business structure, and a lot of that is going to depend on what type of taxes that you file. It's going to depend on your state that you form your LLC in. It's going to depend on what kind of documentation and everything that you have to have there. You have to make sure that annual forms are filed, statement of information are filed, and if not, of course, you'll come out of compliance, and then it means that your business is no longer operating in a legal structure. So if you, back to your question, Duca, if you are an LLC, you have to stay in compliance with your state, because once your corporation, your LLC, once it's out of compliance, once it's suspended, you are not legally able to operate. You shouldn't be operating. You can be fined. You can be fined if you operate illegally in any business structure. And the state can fine you tremendously if you're operating and you are a suspended LLC, a suspended corporation, any of that stuff. So you can actually be fined for that, okay? So it gets very, very, very costly not to be in compliance. And there are paperwork to file for your LLC to stay in compliance, as well as file your tax returns. We'll get to the returns later. All right, so what else? Lerner Smith, what compliance would you say are the most, what compliance are the most important ones for a business, since there are many? Right. What's compliance the most important one for business, since there are many? Okay, so the business compliance issue is based on the type of business, Lorna, the type of business that you're operating. So each one of the business have different licenses and different things that you have to do. Now, tax returns filing is the most common, of course, because if you're operating a business, you need to file the taxes. If you don't file taxes, your business gets suspended, it gets fined, takes you out of compliance. So that's the most common. That is the key to make sure that you have taxes filed on time. If you are a corporation or any type of state entity, and once again, like I said, if you are suspended, you will be fined for operating in a suspended state, okay? Your corporation is no longer valid. Your corporate veil is no longer effective. You can be sued. If you sign any contracts as a suspended corporation or LLC or any entity, if you sign any contracts while suspended, not in compliance and while suspended, it's no longer valid. Those contracts are not valid. So, and again, you'll be fined by the state if you get caught operating out of compliance. And I have a question from Dre. Do you have to, let's see, what's this one? Do you have to renew your business license? Okay. Do you have to renew your business license, right? Or is it a one-time application? So, depending on the city you are in, most cities annually you have to renew your business license, right? You have to file a business license tax return. In most cities, you have to file a business license tax return annually. And they may not send you a certificate every year. I know the city of LA, for instance, they may not send you a city of LA certificate every year. They may just send that out periodically. However, you do have to renew your license every year. You have to file a tax return. Based on the money that you make, you have to pay your city taxes. You have to pay that revenue to the city. In LA, of course, like I said, if you make less than $100,000, they don't even charge you any business license fee. Also, they have what they call is enterprise zoning areas. So if your business is operating in certain enterprise zoning for, let's say, the city of LA, and I'm sure other cities give you that credit as well. There's a credit for enterprise zone. If you're operating a business in certain areas of the city that they consider the enterprise zone area, they give you a credit for that. So you may not even have to pay any taxes, but you do have to file the business license every year, and for most cities to stay in compliance. All right. So, okay, any other questions? All right, any other questions, you guys? Put your questions up here so we can get them answers today about staying in compliance. All right, so now, part of the compliance issue, again, make sure that you are licensed. Make sure you have the necessary license to operate the business that you're in. That is the key, because believe me, they come around, you are not licensed. There are people who shows up at your door. Every year, the authorities will show up. They will show up and they will check your license. So don't think that I'm operating without a license. You know, nobody is going to ever know. The authorities will come around. The business license folks will come to your door and check to see if you have your business license. They'll check to see if you have your state license, if you're operating, let's say, a cosmetology. If you were doing that, if you're in a shop, you're operating, they'll come around to make sure you have those licenses. And again, you don't want to get caught without them, because the fines and even the ability to, let's say they suspend your license, the ability to even get it back might be slim to none. You know, depending on how many violations you have, they may not even allow you to get a license to continue to operate your business, okay? So that you do not want to do. Hi, Linda. Hi, No Side. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so what else do you have, Jay? Do you have to renew? Okay, I got that questions. Any other questions, guys? Make sure that you put it on the screen so I can get it and answer it. If I miss any question, I'll go back over the live and make sure that I answer those questions for you. Put them up on the screen, so I'll try to catch them as we go along, okay? All right, so another type of compliance that I want to make sure that you guys are in tune with. Again, all this is depending on the type of business that you're operating. Now, some businesses is going to require, let's say, compliance from, say, the fire department. If you operate any type of business that involves a lot of people is going to be in your business area, okay? So this is very, very important, because the fire department, okay, they're here to make sure that people are safe. So if you're operating a type of business, let's say a restaurant, let's say a club, let's say a daycare, anything that houses a lot of people, right? So the fire department makes sure that people are safe. If there's a fire, there's equitable exit. People can exit. People can, you know, with the entrance and exit, everything is zoned. They have to make sure that you have equipment in there to extinguish a fire if something starts. So don't operate any business, especially if it requires a lot of people in your establishment, without making sure that you need to get a fire. Make sure the fire department comes in and clear you and gives you that permit to say, okay, it's okay to operate this business structure with these people in there. Hi, Topeka. Okay, so questions? Any questions on that? Anybody's clear on that? Any questions regarding what you have to operate, how you operate your business? Is compliance different? Okay, we got that one. All right, I'm just trying to make sure I catch all the questions today, right? Making sure I just don't run past all these questions. So once again, guys, Elaine Proby, CEO of PROBY'S Tax and Accounting. And I'm trying to make sure that we get all the questions answered today. The series that I'm emphasizing is how to stay in business. We get everything about starting a business, how to make all this money in a business, you know, and everybody gives you all the marketing and all that stuff. But once you do all that, start your business, make all this money, if you are not in compliance, you want to be out of business fast, that's what happens. If you're not in compliance, either by licensing or not filing taxes, and we'll get to the tax issue later. All right, so that's what I wanted to emphasize today, guys. To stay in business, Of course, a lot of times people start a business and they wind up with so much expense to start the business. The one thing you don't want to do, and I've got so many cases of this, you don't want to spend a lot of money to start a business and getting closed down before you even start making any money. This is what you want to avoid. You don't want that. Now, I'm seeing that happen all the time with some people who just didn't do the right things when they get started. Okay, so do your research. Check and make sure you're in the right location for what it is that you're doing, okay? Make sure you get the right license. If you're doing any type of business that involves, that can bring some liability to you, make sure you form a business structure that can protect you. Like a corporation. Make sure you do that as opposed to operating as an individual, right? So all these things will assist you in staying in compliance, making sure that your business stay. I learned that. Hey, Tamika. So staying in compliance, okay, and making sure that your business is active, okay? So let me tell you something about businesses that are not active. If you form a corporation, guys, and sometimes business are suspended before they get started, before they actually start operating. So if you file a corporation with your state, wherever you are, there are requirements that you have to do to stay in compliance as an active corporation in that state, right? You have to file a statement of information within 3 months, certain information that you need to do, and there are time limits for these things. And so if you don't do that, of course, you're out of compliance. So when you're out of compliance and you're suspended, this is what happens now. I've seen this very often. A lot of people try to wind up doing other stuff like, okay, I'm going to my bank and I'm going to get this, loan or apply for something. And then what happens? They check to see your business status, make sure you're a valid business, operating legally. That's the first thing they want to know. You're a valid business, you're operating legally, you got all your documentation. And our biggest downfall is not having those things, right? Not having those things. So don't get carried away once you form this business and just start operating. I'm making money, I'm doing all this stuff, and then your paperwork is not right. Okay? The paperwork have to be in compliance. All right, am I missing any questions out there? Any questions, you guys? Make sure you put it on the screen, and I'll answer them now, or I'll come back later on and and answer them on the live. I'll come back in and check the questions. Okay. All right. So what else we got out there, Dre? All right, I got that questions already. And hey, Tamika, you're watching. Okay, good. All right. So now, let me just give some more pointers on operating in compliance. Some more pointers in operating in compliance, right? There's certain restrictions. Now, let's say you have a commercial location. You're operating a business, you're in a commercial location. There's certain restrictions. You can't just arbitrarily decide that I'm going to put up this huge sign outside. I'm going to put this stuff on the sidewalk. I want everybody to know that I'm here. I want everybody to know that this business is functional. You can't just do that. There are regulations. There are restrictions, even on signage, right? On signage. So you have to make sure that you know what the city code is, the requirement. There's size of the sign that you can do. Lighting is different. You can't just use a sidewalk if you are on a storefront. You have to look into all this stuff, because the key is you're going to put all this money into your business. You're going to set all this stuff up. You're going to have everything looking beautiful and everything is painted, and you're going to have it all, and then you will be closed down, right? You won't be able to operate. They can come in and say, okay, look, you can't do this. Shut it down, right? And you don't want that to happen. Stay in compliance. Find out what you need to do. Get all your licenses. And find out your zoning and make sure that you do things in order so that your business can thrive. And once again, you don't go back and spend unnecessary money, whether it's with fines, unnecessary money legally, and or the worst part is not being able to get your license to operate, right? Because you may, if you have so much infraction, so much violation, they won't give you a license. They will give you a license. So before you know it, that business is out the window, and you didn't spend all that time thinking this whole thing out, starting this whole thing for it to go out the window. So to stay in business, guys, to stay in business, we have got to stay in compliance. All right, staying in compliance, stay in business. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you're not in compliance, they can shut you down. Okay, I've had business making millions of dollars. Example of businesses that may have clients, house clients, and they may come in one day and says, this is it. Yeah, I've seen that happen. You know, after being in business for over 35 years, you've seen it all. I've seen that happen. I've seen people making millions of dollars and not doing things right, and show up one day and the doors are closed. And you guys might say, well, what happened to this business? You know, and that's it. They weren't doing anything except they were not filing the right documentation, paying the licenses, paying taxes, and they've just been operating this whole thing, all these millions of dollars, out of compliance. Okay. Hi, put the thumb. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody, because last time I think I missed some folks and I had to go back and get them. Okay, so, all right, so again, key thing, make sure you have the necessary licenses for what it is that you're doing. Make sure that you are filing the necessary documentation. There's things, like I said before, that are due annually for business license. If you're in the business of retail, you need to make sure that you have a sales tax permit. Here in the state of California, you need a sales tax permit. And what that sales tax permit does, allow you to sell your product, and what you have to do for the state. Now you become the keeper, you have to collect sales taxes. And once you collect those sales taxes, guys, you got to send them to the state, right? They're not your money, you have to send them to the state. So if you're in a retail business, keep in mind, besides getting your business license from the city that you're in, you got to go in and get you a resale license with the state of California. If you're in the state of California, you got to get a resale license. It allows you to sell your product. It allows you to collect the sales taxes for the state. This is money the state used to operate with, so they want you to collect this money. If you notice, every time you go and buy something, it's like, oh, it's $5 plus tax, and it's $10 plus tax. Those tax dollars do not belong to you. They have to go to the state. You can be out of compliance by simply not filing the sales tax return and give that money to the state. And you know what happens? They can come in, they can close you down, they can sit in your place of business and collect every dime that comes in that day. Yeah, they can do that, right? We don't want that to happen, right? We don't want that to happen. So let's stay in compliance. There's another question here. Is it best to get back in compliance, or should you start another business? Well, it's probably, you know, in some cases, it's easier to get in compliance. One, because you already have a business that's established. People know who you are. You may have already gone through, hey, Alan, you may have already gone through the process of marketing that business. You're doing all this promotion. If it's a business that has a location, you've already done all your signage. You've already did leasehold improvements on the interiors. You've already have all the stuff going, opposed to starting from scratch. And then sometimes, you know, it's harder if you have a new business. Most people may not want to, depending on what it is, they might want to do business with you because you're fairly new. Lines of credits. Nobody's going to want to give you credit if you're new. So, yes, the answer to your question, it might be, you know, beneficial to just go on and get your business in compliance, right? All right. Any other question? Does that answer your question there, Mr. Toot? Okay, good. All right. Hi, baby. How you doing, buddy? All right, so that question was a good one, you know, and because a lot of people feel like, okay, well, you know, I have a problem with this business. Maybe I should just do another business. You know, it may not be the smartest thing to do, because you got to start over. People have to know who you are again. And then you have to go through all the troubles of spending some money to establish a whole another location and everything else, okay? So find out what it is. If you happen to be out of compliance, find out what it is to get you back in compliance, and then, of course, do those things, all right? It might cost you a few dollars, but it's better to pay those money to get in compliance than to be fined tremendously some fees that you won't be able to afford, okay? All right, guys, so any other questions out there? Any other questions? Once again, this is Elaine. I'm Elaine Proby, CEO of PROBY'S Tax and Accounting. This is a question and answer. This segment about how to stay in business, this segment is about being in compliance, okay? We can't operate a business and expect to make a lot of money to be out of compliance, get closed down, get fined, and having to start all over, right? But legal and have legal fees. We don't want to do that, right? Okay. All right. So let's see what else is on the list of staying in compliance, guys. Let's see what else is on the list. Now we talked about state licenses, and this one is very common for a lot of the businesses, because especially if you're in the state of California, and I touched on this a little bit earlier. If you are in the state of California, you technically need a license for almost any major profession, right? You need to have a license if you are in the medical field, if you're a lawyer, if you are in construction, you need a license, cosmetologists need a license, real estate, you need a license, insurance need a license, security need a license. Almost every profession you need to get a state license. These are licenses from the state. Now this license is different from your city business license wherever you are. This is a state license. This is state compliance issue right here we're dealing with. State compliance. You need to have a state license for those professions. Most of those things need a state license. Now, you don't want to operate without those licenses. If you notice, sometimes when a person needs to have some work done, they would check to see if you're licensed. They're trying to see if your license is valid. You know what I mean? If you're an attorney, first thing everybody's going to go and check and see, is this attorney in good standings with the state? Are they in good standing with the board? Are they in good standing with the bar? You know, so those licenses you have to be in compliance with that stuff, because you shouldn't be doing business, one. And people won't do business with you if they check and find out that you are out of compliance, right? They don't want to do business with you. So, you know, it hurts all the way around. So you don't want to go through all that to wind up not having a business license or not being in compliance and not make any money, right? And especially for people who spend a lot of money going through the school, the cosmetology, they pay all this money to go through this whole process, not take the exams, not get the license, and not updating it. Update every year. Find out what you have to do every year to make sure your license stay in good standings, all right? Got to operate in good standings. Any other question out there for you guys? Let's see. Am I missing anything? Compliance is different. Okay, I got that one. All right, anything else? Hi, Bunny, you have any questions? I know you guys started a new business. Any questions, guys? Put it on the screen right here. I'll get to answering those right now, or I'll come back and check the live and make sure that I give you the answers to those questions, right? So, as a recap, let's start. I like to start with the home-based business, because a lot of people are operating from home now. A lot of people are operating from home. I see people that are maybe doing food preparation. They're getting licenses to do food preparation at home. And so that's happening. And if they're saying you can get a license to do food preparation at home, go ahead and get it. All right? If they said that you can get a license to do food preparation in your backyard, you know, go ahead and get it. You know, if they said there's a license for this stuff, go ahead and get the license. Get the license so you could be in compliance to operate and make yourself some money. Okay, so their license is home-based business. All right, so you can go ahead and get that license. Okay, so find out what your city requires and go ahead and do that. You know, and that's really cool. And I want to make sure that you guys are really clear on the different types of license and permits that you have to get based on your business. Okay, I want to make sure that you're clear on that. So if it's just a city license to operate a business, if it's something specialized, you need to go get those licenses. For instance, if you open up a restaurant, you got to make sure you get a health permit, right? You have to go through and get a health permit. It's not just open the place and you get a business license and I'm operating. You got to make sure you got a health permit. You got to make sure that that is in good standings every year. You got to keep certain things in order, because they come and they check these things, right? And they will close you down. All right, and so any questions out there, you guys? All right, thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in there. Thank you, Ellen. Thanks for checking me out. I just want to make sure that we all stay in good standings with everything. I want to make sure that we make a lot of money. You know, we put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of our dreams and aspirations into creating a business. And we want to just make sure that we stay in good standings so we can make a lot of money. Okay, so I'm going to touch on this last area, which is, I guess, one of the biggest downfall of most business. The thing that makes most businesses, most people go out of business, right? And this is really, you know, to some degree for me, I think it's really, you know, it's really sad, simply because I've seen people go straight out of business based on this main factor. All your business license all of the compliance issues that you have, all your permits, all this stuff is great. The most important thing, guys, is filing your taxes. Filing your taxes and paying them. Now, filing is more important. Paying, of course, is very important. But if you're not able to pay, there are ways to work that out so you could legally stay in business without having any problem of having a keeper, as the sales tax people can do. They call it a keeper. They can come and sit at your door and collect every dime that comes in that day. Who wants to operate that way, right? Your customers won't come back in. Somebody's sitting there collecting every dime that comes in. You know, that happened. I've seen that happen. Over the 35 years I've been in business, I've seen it happen. You don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that we file our taxes. Hey, Dale, how are you? We want to make sure that you file your taxes. If you can't pay them, there are ways we can work on that to make sure that you file the taxes and the government is not, one, at your door, two, in your bank account, and keeping you from operating. All right? So file your taxes. Now, here at PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, we have a department, which is a small business solution department, which assists you guys if you have any further questions in creating your small business. If you already created a business, making sure you're operating in the right structure, making sure that you have all the various licenses and permits based on what type of business that you're operating in. At PROBY'S Tax and Accounting Small Business Solution, we can make sure that all that stuff is handled for you. You can give us a call at 323-290-9034 for further consultation. You can get a 15-minute free consultation if you have any more questions on this stuff, right? So the key here is for you to start your business. If you're already in business, stay in business, and you already got all this marketing done. A lot of people is telling you how you can go about, getting traffic to your site, all the various ways of making money. But I've seen millions made and I've seen millions lost. I've seen doors open. I've seen lots of money spent. I've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, and I've seen business close down in about 3 to 6 months without even making a dime on the money that they have spent. So I've seen it all. All right, so we don't want that to happen to you, and therefore that's why I'm doing this series of how to stay in business, and compliance issue is the key. Right? If you're out of compliance, it won't happen. So do I have to file if I didn't make any money? All right. So good question. Good question. I talk about filing taxes if you're in business, right? And so one of the questions here is, do I have to file if I didn't make any money? Yes. So yeah, you have to file the taxes even if you made no money. Now, sometimes you may not have made any income, but you would have spent money, right? To start any business, you spend some kind of money, even if it's just a matter of getting your business cards, paying someone to give you advice. You might pay for some professional advice, so you spend some money. And what you want to do is you want to file the taxes and you want to deduct all the expense of opening and starting that business. Now, if it's an individual business, you file those taxes on your personal Schedule C. And you get to deduct all the monies that you spent to get that business started. And what happens is it will help reduce your other taxable income, and it will save you in taxes. If you have an entity, an LLC, you have a corporation, and you made no money. I've had people who may have started a corporation, say maybe in November. I think in state of California, there's like a 21-day grace period. So if you started your corporation in the state of California within 21 days from the end of the year, you may not have to file a tax return for that year. Anything outside of that, even with no money, you have to file those taxes. What happens if you don't file those taxes? And this is another reason why I've seen people that incorporate wind up going out of business, say within the first year. And because they find out later on that they didn't file taxes for the first year they started their business, right? They didn't file a statement of information within 3 months after they incorporated their business. And then, a year later, their business is suspended, right? And so now you've got fines, you've got late fees, you got late filing penalties, you got all this stuff. So now you've got all this expense and you've made no money. You haven't really started operating your business. Yes, you have to file your taxes. Whatever year you started your business, make sure that you file a tax return for that year, whether you made money or not. Okay, So that answers your question too. All right, let's see. Edison, especially now, a lot of business will, let's see, what's that? A lot of business, okay, yeah, a lot of business, yeah, you really, for instance, like your business license, if you didn't make any money too, you need to file that. Just, made no money, put a zero on the thing, whatever, sign it, and get that off to them, right? And most of the business here, not likely, okay, yeah. So a lot of business will not likely, one, to file taxes because they feel they don't need to. And then, right now in these times, you're thinking, well, okay, I'm not making any money now. I don't need to spend any money to try to file any taxes. No, you want to stay in good standing, right? Because this is not going to last forever. You want to stay in good standing so you can make some money. You can't even go to the bank. You can't even apply for any of these loans they're giving, no small business loan, no PPP loan, no any type of grant. You can't even do any of that without a tax return. So sometimes if you're new, they're not expecting you to make money right off the top because you're new. But being in compliance, everybody likes your business if you stay in compliance. It's not always about how much money you make. They know that you are a serious business person because you stay in compliance, all right? So here is another question. How about going in business with someone that both of us have to file? Okay, so question, how about going in business with someone do both have to file, right? So that's a good question. If you're in business with someone and it's a partnership, right? I mean, and individually, let's back up. Individually, each one of you have an obligation to file your own tax return if you made enough income to file, right? Some people don't have a filing requirement because they may not have made enough money to file. So, but if you're in business with someone, if you are a partner in a business, in a partnership, an LLC, an S corp or whatever, and the business entity will file the return. So if you're an S corporation and if you are a corporation or partnership, the business entity will file a return, right? So what they do is they will give you a K1, which is your portion of that profit that you make, right? Now, let's say there's not enough money on there, and let's say you didn't make any other money on your personal end of things, and maybe you don't have a filing requirement even with your business profit, your personal, or maybe there's a business loss, you don't have any other income, and you don't have any filing requirement, then you don't have to file a tax return, right? You don't have to file a tax return. You're not in a filing requirement bracket. So, in answer to your question, do both of us have to file, right? So if it's a partnership, again, depending on your personal status, if you don't have any other filing requirement because there's no other income, the business have a loss, then you don't have to file a tax return because the business would have already filed its tax return. Okay, and the business is the one that needs to make sure it files the taxes so the business can stay in compliance, so it's continue to operate and hopefully make some money, which will then give you some money so you can then file your taxes, because then at that point you'll have a filing requirement, right? Okay, thanks Nash for asking that question. Let's see, I have another question from Dre. Do I need to have a registered agent, or can I be my for my company? No. Okay, so a registered agent. Somebody have a good question here. What is the purpose of a registered agent? Okay, guys, what a registered agent is, for those of you who are not familiar with this. You're welcome, Taj. You're welcome. Thanks for the question. So for those of you who is not familiar with this, a registered agent is the person who you assign to receive any type of legal document when you form a corporation. So here in the state of California, and I keep saying that because there's different states and there's other states who doesn't even have a tax filing requirement anyway. And so here in the state of California, what it is, when you form a corporation, guys, on there it asks you for the name or entity for the registered agent. You don't have to have a registered agent as an external person. So you can put yourself on there as a registered agent. It just means that if this corporation gets sued, who do I take this paperwork to? That's what the registered agent does. So if I formed a corporation and I am the registered agent with my name and address, and there's a lawsuit, they will bring it to that location, to that person. And there are a lot of people who their attorney may file the corporation, or their registered agent companies who represent, I should say, corporations where they use their business address, they use their business phone number. So if there's a lawsuit or somebody needs to get legally in touch with the corporation, they send it to that person. So that's the purpose of a registered agent. Good question, Dre. All right. Any other questions? I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any of these today, you guys, because this is the whole purpose of this segment. It is a question and answer. Ask your question regarding that. Today's segment is about staying in compliance. It's about if you want to, stay in business. And I know we spend a lot of time, trying to figure out what kind of business we are going to start, what we're passionate about, and all of our ideas always give us this, we're going to be successful, we're going to make a lot of money. This is the whole point. And so you don't want to go through all that process. Then you spend money to get started. You have to spend some money to get going. You set things up. And depending on where your location is, you have spent money on leasehold improvement. Like I said earlier, you have spent a lot of money on this stuff. And then a year later, you're in problems. You have problems. You have tax problems. You have licenses problems. And then it's costly. It's costly. You don't be in compliance, you guys. You will wind up paying late fees every single time you have to file something late to stay in compliance. If you file a late business tax, if you file a late sales tax, if you file your taxes late, all this stuff, there is a late filing penalty and all this stuff. So again, it will cost you so much money. And you may lose your license to the point where you might not be able to get it back, depending on what kind of license you're in. So stay in compliance, right? If you're operating a business where, let's say operators, maybe a cosmetologist shop or something like that, where everybody has to have their license. Your responsibility as the owner of those business is make sure everybody in there that's operating is in compliance. Make sure all your operators have the necessary license. Most common, we have a lot of these around town. Are most common. You have a barber shop or a hair shop, and everyone has to have independently their own license, right? If you're running a real estate company, all of your brokers, your agents, the sales agents, they have to have their own license. If you have an insurance company, they have to have their own license. Your license belongs to you. It don't belong to that business. It belongs to you. However, as the business owner of that establishment, you have to make sure that they are licensed, because guess what? You as the owner will be fine, okay? You will be fine. So seriously important, even though you have your license, but if you're in here, you need to have a license. You also need to make sure those people are in compliance for them to even operate out of your business, right? Okay, what is the purpose? Okay, I already got that one. Okay, so any other questions, guys? I want you guys to put it at the bottom here. I'll try to answer them today. And I know we're running out of time because there's so much to cover. And I'll come back through here on the live and make sure that, we get some of these questions answered. I'll come back in here and make sure that they're answered. All right, Lorna. Okay, this is Elaine Proby, CEO, PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, you guys. And, I run and operate a financial service, tax service, accounting service business here in the city of Los Angeles for over 35 years. I've seen everything come across my desk. I've seen it all. I've seen people make millions. I've seen people lose millions. I've seen business start up. I've seen them close down. I've seen agencies close them down. I've seen people just simply don't do the right thing. I'm here to try to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. That doesn't happen to you. Make sure that we stay in business, make lots of money, and fulfill all our dreams and aspiration, and and stay in compliance for that to happen. Okay, all right, you guys. So I think that will cover it for today. I don't know if you have any other questions out there, but I'm gonna come back. I definitely. Hi, Marcus. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. You guys out there. This is Elaine Proby from PROBY'S Tax and Accounting Service here in Los Angeles. You can find us at 323-290-9034. Give us a call if you have any more questions. If you want to set up a consultation, we have 15-minute free consultation so we can clarify more of this stuff with you. Go ahead and give us a call. Go to our website at probys.tax.com. And if you have filing problems, if you haven't filed your taxes or you didn't think you had to file your taxes, because you may have the business 2 years, you're still getting it off the ground, you hadn't made any money. I didn't think I had to file a tax return. I get that all the time. I get people 2 years later, okay, you established the business 2 years ago, but I didn't make any money. I didn't do anything. I don't have to file anything. So yeah, no, we'll help you with that, okay? One of the questions earlier is, do you still have to file? Of course, yes, you do have to file, and you don't want it to cost you more money filing late. All those penalties, you got to go back. I've seen corporations that has to go back and maybe even pay $3,000-$4,000 for not filing in the first 3 years they incorporated to the state of California, simply because they didn't think they had to file. And that goes back to one of the questions: do you, do you revive it or do you not revive it? Your corporation, right? An individual business, let's do the right thing. Get a license, simply a license, just even a business license for your city. If you're operating from home, like I said, I've seen them giving a license to, do food out of your house. Go ahead and get that license. Go ahead and get that license. Less than $100,000 in the city of LA, if you make, license is free. Don't cost you anything, right? So let's get the license. Let's stay in compliance. Let's stay in business. Let's make money. Any more questions? Let's see. All right. Thanks for your expertise. All right. Thank you, Carla. My pleasure. I'm happy to share this stuff with you guys. I want to see everybody succeed. And most of all, I want us to stay in business. It really is upsetting when people start a new business and sooner or later I get more depressed stories. And that should not be the case. The story should be good ones, happy ones. The story should be, my business is great, I'm doing well, right now it's taking care of itself. I want to know how to excel, how do I get to the next level, and how do I do all that stuff. But you have to make sure that the basis is right. You have to make sure that the groundwork is laid. It's a foundation, and then you have to make sure you have to build on that foundation. So if the foundation is not there, guys, it's going to tumble, and then all that hard work is going to go out the window. All right, I see a question there, Dale. What's that? No side in business without a social, in business without a social. Depending on what kind of business there, sir, you can go ahead and incorporate the business. You can have, get a partner, get someone involved, if you more than one person involved with that business and stuff like that, they can set it up and get the business going, allow you to be able to make some money and take care of any other expenses and things that you may need to put in order. So that will work. Okay, and what if you're not okay and find out you're working from home without a license? Well, working from home, you could get a business license. It doesn't require much to get a business license. So you can work from home with a business license. I don't think any of all that stuff, being a citizen and all that has anything to do with getting the business license. They just want to make sure that you're legally operating. You're legally operating that business from home. So they're not concerned about citizenship or any of that stuff as far as legally operating that business. So it doesn't matter who you are. If you're operating illegally, it's wrong. So they'll shut you down. All right? Okay. Good questions, you guys. Good questions. This is fun today. This is fun. I like this. Most people, the whole thing is we start our business and we want to stay in business. Right? So, like I said, I started over 35 years ago, and the whole idea is I was doing everything that it took to stay in business. Sooner or later, I'll share all those secrets with you guys. That's coming up. That's coming up. How you stayed in business for 35 years. I've got all the stories in the book to tell you. I've seen all kinds of examples. I've seen people making millions. I've seen them have nothing today. I've seen people who have just stay at a steady pace, and they're still in business today, right? And this is just following instructions, doing the right thing, and once you get started again, lay the right foundation, right? We'll be back here next week, Thursday, and with some more questions and answers, you guys. I love these questions, you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, this is Elaine Proby, CEO of PROBY'S Tax and Accounting in Los Angeles here. In business for over 35 years, you guys have seen it all. I'll give you that journey. I'll give you that story later and let you guys know how to stay in business, let you guys know how I did it, and share some of that secret with you. But for now, stay in compliance so you can stay in business. You can make lots of money, and that was your whole reason for going in business, right? Okay. Any more questions, give us a call. PROBY'S Tax and Accounting, 323-290-9034, or visit our website at probiztax.com. Or a small business department can help you set up your business, help you get back in compliance, okay? And if you're already in business, we can help you stay in compliance. Of course, our tax department can assist you with any back tax filing that you have, any type of filing problems that you may have. We can assist you with that. You get 15 minutes free consultation. Give us a call, all right? See you guys later. Take care of yourself, okay? Follow instructions, and we all